Throughout this video, we will be referring to GoToRelated Record as GTRR. It is easier to say and write, and much quicker to type, plus everybody who works with FileMaker is familiar with the term. GTRR allows you to go to a set of related records instantly. For example, you might be in a customer record and want to go to a list view of all that customer's invoices. GTRR is therefore a method of finding records, and it is a technique that I use all of the time because it is fast, very powerful, and saves you time by switching to a different layout, entering find mode, typing what you're looking for, and then hitting enter. I frequently use GTRR in combination with an onObject modify script trigger. So when I make a selection in a value list field, the list of records that I am working with immediately reduces to those that match my selection. GTRR always ignores a current found set, so in effect it first finds all records and then reduces from there. When you use GTRR with the script trigger and related value lists, you can drill down to the records you want very quickly indeed. For example, I have a set of 5,000 records with a value list of the different states that there are records for. That value list uses all values so that any selection I make results in a found set. Having selected and found all the records for a particular state, I now want to select a city, and the related value list for cities shows only those that are in the state that I selected. I am typically, but not always, going to use global fields as my starting point for GTRR. An example of where I would not use a global is if I'm in a list of customers and want to GTRR to that customer's related records. In that case, I use the primary key for the customer as my starting point. When you use GTRR in a script, you have the option to go to the related records for the record you are currently on, or for all the related records for the current found set. The latter option is very powerful, but it can take some time if there is a large record set. We're now going to show you this process in action using a list view of 5,000 people living in states across the US. The data that is being used here was kindly supplied by Brown Dunning, and you can get it for free or much larger datasets for a small amount at www.browndunning.com. By the way, Brown's site is also, in my opinion, the best resource for custom functions there is. I use it constantly. Here we're looking at a list of 5,000 records, and we've got a counter at the top. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to select a state. Now this is a pop-up list or drop-down list of all the different states. So we're going to select Alaska. And the moment we do that, we have two fields appear, a city index and a city. Now in a state, first thing you do is look at the number of cities, and since Alaska only has a few cities where we've got records, you don't need to use the city index. But let's say select Anchorage, and now we see all of the people live in Anchorage, 40 of them, and we can choose from any of the zip codes to filter that list down. Let's start over, and now we're going to select California. When you go to California cities, there's a long list. So at this point you would go back to the city index and you would choose the first letter of the city index, and now this populates with just cities in California that begin with a C, and you can simply select that to get down to there. We're looking at the relationship graph, obviously, and we're concerned with the relationship or the table occurrences on the right. which are all driven by the value lists and the global fields selected on the left in the people table. And the first one, which gives us a list of all the cities and the index letters of the cities, is where we're filtering by state. So with gstate equals state, that will give us the first set of records. Once we've selected the state, we have all the cities that are found, and we can now filter down by the state and the city index. The field on the left is a calculation field which says if a city index is selected, use it, otherwise use all of the city indexes. Both this relationship, filtered by city index and filtered by city, use the table occurrence filtered by state for the value list. Now if we go to filtered by city, gstate and gcity, this shows us all the related records for the selected state and city. And then once we've selected a city, we are given a list of zip codes within that city, and that's all we need for the filtered by zip. This is the final set where state equals state, zip equals zip, and city equals city. And that's the relationships necessary for this all to work. It's quite simple, really. There's a little behind the scenes trickery that's going on, and we're just going to show you how this works by illustrating it in very great detail. The user wouldn't see this, and we'll show you what the user will see. So with a list of cities, the field on the right lists all of the cities for the state, and there's literally hundreds of them. Actually, let me switch to Alaska because it's easier to illustrate. So here are all the cities in Alaska. If I click on this field, I'm seeing the same thing. But let me select K, and the field on the right that displays all of the cities within Alaska is now hidden because there is a value in the city index. The field here now only shows cities in the selected state that begin with the selected letter. Now what happens is that if I start over, these two fields have different value lists, and we'll show you what those value lists are. They're both related value lists, and they're based on selections that the user has made. The two fields sit on top of each other, and one is hidden when the city index is empty, and the other one is hidden when the city index is not empty. The user doesn't know what's going on. You do. The city pop-up list, we have two copies of one field, G_city, two value lists and two relationships. The copy of gcity that is being shown depends on whether a value has been selected in gcity index. This relationship drives the field gcity that displays cities where the first letter matches the index letter selected and the state selected is the state for the record. This relationship drives the field gcity that displays cities where the state selected is the state for the record. The techniques described in this video are very powerful but also very easy to implement. It is our job as a developer to give the user as much flexibility and power as we can, but also to keep it simple. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. If you would like a copy of the example file used in this video, please email michael@michaelrashad.com with the subject line GTRR.